Hello, this is Chief Kevin Molis from the Malden Police Department giving a weekly update on public safety events and incidents that have happened in the community over the past week or so. I want to begin by giving you an update on a incident that happened on March 2nd, the fatal shooting death of a 23-year-old man from Salem, Massachusetts. I want to let the public know that Yahia Mastori, an 18-year-old Malden resident, remains wanted in connection with that fatal shooting death that took place in Malden, and he is actively being sought by law enforcement. I would ask any member of the public who has any information about his whereabouts that could lead to his successful capture to make us aware of that. It's been a busy week for the police department. We've had 17 people taken into custody. I want to highlight that an incident that happened on March 11th at 4:05 a.m. We responded to a robbery call. A cab driver had picked up a fare in Cambridge, Massachusetts, was directed to drive the passenger to Malden, where a robbery ensued at knife point. The suspect fled the area. Good response by two officers from the department, Officer Adam Siegel and Adam Maha. You know, growing up, I remember the show Adam 12, Officers Reed and Malloy. But on that night, Officers Adam Siegel and Adam Maha responded and did a tremendous job tracking the suspect's flight. They looked at some distinctive footprints, obtained some video imagery, and that imagery captures a good look at the suspect fleeing the area. That's something you'll be able to see on our social media or police website. I would ask members of the public to look at that. We have already gotten some information about possible suspects, so I would ask and encourage people to assist us with that. I always talk about motor vehicle car brakes. It's something that happens with some regularity, and the things that you can do to minimize your potential becoming a victim. And the two things that you can do, as I always say, is to keep your car locked and don't leave valuables in it. Well, the other night, somebody parked their vehicle on the property of the Salem Wood School at night after school was closed. They locked their car. However, they left their wallet visible on the front seat. Somebody broke the window and stole the wallet. So just kind of pay attention to that. The two things you can do to minimize you being a victim of a motor vehicle car break is to lock your car and don't leave valuables inside. I want to highlight a great piece of police work, one of many that happens, but I want to highlight this one. On March 12th, Officer Larry McGahee was out on patrol, very active officer, and he saw a motor vehicle traveling with no front license plate, so a minor traffic violation. Officer McGahee attempted to stop the vehicle in the area of Charles Street in the Edgeworth section of Malden. That resulted in a flight by the suspect. Other officers converged on the area. The suspect was no longer in sight, but some alert work. Officer Matt Quinn was able to locate the vehicle unoccupied in a driveway in that neighborhood. They were able to follow footprints. Sometimes the snow is our friend. And there were Officer Steve Munyon and Steve Bellavere were subsequently able to locate the person that was driving that vehicle. And I just want to note something about the nature of traffic enforcement and traffic stops. That the suspect that was taken into custody, a 20-year-old Woburn resident, had a prior history of drug offenses and, most importantly, firearms offenses. I want to thank the public and continue to ask them to pay attention to social media that we're using. Many times we put out information and imagery, and we're getting positive feedback on that and a lot of good help. In many respects, you become a force multiplier. The work of the police department expands through your enthusiasm and your participation in helping us do our job better. We had an incident recently. A member of the public was on the commuter rail platform at Malden Center MBTA station. They got on the commuter rail to go north toward Haverhill, and they realized that they had left a bag behind. When they got home and was coming back to Malden to hopefully retrieve their bag, they started to receive alerts that their debit card was being used in Malden locations. As a result of that card being actively used at the CVS on Ferry Street, the victim at that point had responded to the area, police were called, and we were able to take one person into custody. video imagery of the suspect that got away allowed us and afforded us the opportunity to identify that person, so 2 people have been charged in connection with that offense. That's another good example of where video imagery is very, very helpful to us. So if you're someone who has already obtained video capability for your property or business, and you believe that it contains images that are helpful to us in solving a crime, we would greatly appreciate you making that available to us. I also want to point out some tremendous work by Police Commissioner Giannetti. He's always alert, always vigilant, and always on duty. Recently he observed 4 people acting suspiciously in a motor vehicle that was parked on Oakland Street in Malden. Commissioner Giannetti called the police. The police responded. The vehicle ended up being stolen, and 4 people have been charged in connection with that offense. During this past week, Malden hosted a very, very successful road race, half marathon and 5-mile race that benefited the Malden Rotary. It was a great event. 3,000 people participated in a safe, fulfilling endeavor of athletic achievement. And I want to thank the personnel from Public Safety who made that a safe event: Malden Police Department, Melrose Police Department, Middlesex Sheriff's Department. The Massachusetts State Police Bomb Squad came as a preventive measure. They were not activated for any device or bomb event, but they are always there as a precaution to help us prepare for a good event. I want to thank them. They're always a good resource to us. And I also want to point out that during that race, retired Sergeant David Ritchie from the Malden Police Department, who currently works as a civilian resource with the Malden Police, came in first place for his age group of over 70. Dave Ritchie was always a good cop in a foot chase, along with Officer Charlie McKay, who's retired. Charlie's in the Malden High Hall of Fame for his running talent and ability, so I want to commend Dave Ritchie for his performance. I think his time was 39 minutes and 41 seconds. So that's some of what's gone on in the community over the past week. We look forward to your input and your feedback. I ask you to continue to pay attention to our attempts at outreach, particularly when we make you aware of a crime that has occurred and you can provide us with information or support, and that means a lot to me. In closing, I'd like to say that we always talk about the great diversity in our city, and this Sunday, March 17th, will be St. Patrick's Day, and I always think about the great contributions that the Irish have made to our country, our state, our city, and particularly our police department. So this morning, thinking of St. Patrick's Day coming up, I looked into some of our old photographs, and I found a picture of the Malden Police Department in 1893. And I looked at some of the names: Officer William Killian, Officer John Kelly, Thomas Shaughnessy. And then I looked at the 1906 photographs of the department, and I saw names like Patrick Nolan and John J. Crow, probably related to the great Crow family from Russell Street in Edgeworth. And as I look back, over the years, you think of great people that served this department, people like Tom Kelly, Jack McCarthy, Bill McNaught, you name O'Brien, Connolly, Cronin, and maybe even more notable, Officer Dan O'Leary, who was badge number 1 when I got on the police department, who in many respects is still with us because, I don't know if everybody knows this, when you open up the garage door to the police station, it's dispatcher activates the garage door, and the way the officers do that is they say Dan-O over the radio, and that's in recognition of Officer Dan O'Leary. So I want to wish all the members of the public a safe week and a safe St. Patrick's Day, and I thank you for your time and your attention, and I always thank you for your support, and it means a lot to us, and we continue to serve you each and every day. Thank you. God bless.